Welcome everyone, my name is Janet and I'm working through the Exodus book within the King James's Bible. I'm on chapters 7 to 9 today, so that's what I'll be covering. And we're about to go into battle, the battle of Pharaoh and God, running through Moses and Aaron. So let's get started. So chapter 7. God is saying to Moses, "See, I have made you a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron, your brother, shall be your prophet." So he's saying that, he is putting his power into Moses. He is going to be the God to Pharaoh. He will see him as powerful, and he is going to speak through Aaron. So he's passing down the knowledge to Moses, who then will convey what has to be said through Aaron, and Aaron will speak those words to Pharaoh. That is the master plan and how we are going to push forward with Pharaoh to release the Israelites from Egypt. So this is what God says. "I will harden Pharaoh's heart and send multiple signs in the land of Egypt, so that if Pharaoh fails to listen, he will condemn Egypt, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord, and release the Israelites from amongst them." So he's put Moses in charge to go and convey these signs to Pharaoh in the order that he presents to him. So the first sign that God asks him to do is with the staff, and to knock it onto the ground so that the staff then turns into a serpent. So they go to Pharaoh and they do this sign. "Let the people of Israelites go, for God their Lord demands it so." Boom, down goes the staff, turns into a serpent. And Pharaoh decides, right, get all of my magicians and sorcerers, bring them here. It gets them there at once. They have to perform the same trick, which they do, and they all are able to create these serpents out of their sticks. But what happens is the serpent that God sent down just eats up all of their serpents. And Pharaoh doesn't listen. His heart just gets more and more hardened. So God commands Moses and Aaron to then turn the river Nile into blood. And they call Pharaoh in the morning down to the river Nile, and they say to him, "If you will not let God's people go, we will turn the river Nile into a river of blood." And Pharaoh still just stands there. So Moses puts his staff into the river, and the whole of the river turns to blood. Even the bowls and the cups all throughout Egypt, they also suddenly have blood in them. And all the fish as well in the river die, so they have no fish. And the magicians, they were able to turn water into blood too. So this kind of still shows to Pharaoh that this is just trickery. It's just trickery. So Pharaoh's heart is more hardened, and he still refuses, even with everything turned to blood. Everything it's in. And the people are digging along the river to try and get water, because there is nothing, there's no water everywhere. And this stays like this for 7 days. And this ends chapter 7. So now in chapter 8, we have Moses coming back to Pharaoh saying, "Free God's people, for if you don't, we will bring frogs out of the river Nile. They will go into everything in Egypt, into your ovens, around the homes, throughout all of the lands of Egypt. Frogs will come out of the ponds, out of everywhere." And so Pharaoh is not moving on this, so this is what happens. Frogs come out of the river, they go into the towns and everywhere throughout Egypt, absolutely covered with frogs all over. And Pharaoh gets his magicians to do the same thing, and they can do it. They can make frogs come out. But because there's frogs everywhere, Pharaoh just says, "Look, tell your Lord to get rid of the frogs, and I will let the people go tomorrow, okay? Just get him to stop, get them to get rid of them all." So Moses speaks to God, and all the frogs are killed. They die. And they're brought into piles and heaps everywhere, and there's this awful stench. And obviously this really doesn't impress Pharaoh at all. So he's like, the next day, he's like, "No, they're not going. No, I've changed my mind. The Israelites will stay." And so now the Lord gets Moses to turn the dust into lice, so that there is lice biting everything, biting everyone and all the people everywhere. It's just going all over the place. All this lice. And he tries to get these magicians to do the same trick, and they can't do it this time. And they say, this must be God. We cannot do this. We cannot turn dust into lice. But Pharaoh is still not budging. So the Lord comes again, and then he says, okay, now I'm going to command that flies go everywhere. So there's flies going everywhere, but he said they will not go in Goshen, where the people of Israel is. There will be no flies around them. So he's bringing flies everywhere, and they're not going to specific areas where the Lord's people are. So it's another sign for Pharaoh to see, look, all of the Egyptians are covered in these flies, but the Israelites are not. So Pharaoh begs, please just get the flies to go. I want rid of them. Get them everywhere. Your people can go for 3 days, not too far, but they can go for 3 days out to worship their God, okay? Just let them get rid of the flies. And so when all the flies have gone, Pharaoh turns around again and says no, he's not going to let the people go. And that ends chapter 8 frustratingly. It's like all of these things, frogs, lice, flies. He's not budging, because obviously he's able to say stop it, and then he can just wait a while, and then it's like, so he's been given that like window of non-threat maybe, who knows, but he's not budging. So as he's not budging, we move into chapter 9. Maybe in chapter 9 he'll do it, right? Let's see. And Moses goes back to Pharaoh and he says, let my people go so they can serve me. And if not tomorrow, I will kill all of your livestock. All of the cattle, all of the sheep, all everything will die. But not the Israelites' sheep or cattle. Only the Egyptians. And still the next day Pharaoh is not moving, and so all the cattle dies. And Pharaoh sees that only the Egyptian cattle have been killed, not the Israelites. He sees that has not come to bear on them. But he is still, what a strong will. He is refusing to go. And it keeps saying in the Bible, the Pharaoh's heart was hardened. So he's getting more and more like, I will not. Even with all of these things coming at him, he is like, I am not going to let you have the Israelites. So now Moses turns dust into boils, and all the people and all the cattle are covered in boils all over them. It's just like, awful. And still Pharaoh won't let. It's like all of this stuff is going on and he's still saying no. So then he got to ramp it up even more. So now God says, I will bring a hailstorm with fire and hail. Anybody who will not listen and be inside will die outside. So those outside are killed by the hail. Those who listened to what the Lord had said via Moses stayed indoors, and obviously they didn't get killed. And everything was destroyed, but not at Goshen, where the Israelites are. There'll be no hail there, nothing there to affect them. They were protected by the Lord. It's to show Pharaoh that they are the Lord's people. And at this point, Pharaoh says, I have sinned. I will let the people go. But Moses didn't really believe that he feared God. He was saying no, but anyway. And what was left through all of these hail that had been going on, all the barley and the flax had just been destroyed, but the wheat and the spelt, that was saved. And Moses eventually called to the Lord, and the hail was stopped. And do you think Pharaoh then allowed the people to go? Nope. He still refused. So through these 3 chapters that we've covered, because this is that last point, he said no. Nothing seemingly is going to stop Pharaoh from keeping the Israelites. It's like, how much pain and suffering is he putting himself and, more importantly, his people, the Egyptians, through? how much faith do they have in Pharaoh to allow these things to keep happening to them? You know, I wonder what the Egyptian people were thinking at this time. So that closes chapter 9. We have covered those 3 chapters in this battle of wills. Now, God's will in the Bible is the strongest, and he can bring all of these things, but he's going through so many procedures just to get a release of his people. It's like we have a choice, don't we? That's what humanity has. We have to make choices, so he can only bring certain things, and until that mind, the knowledge with the knowledge in it, tips its scale towards doing what is right for the people and stops the suffering, it has to be broken. That will, it has to be cracked. And all of these forces of nature are still not getting Pharaoh to change. So what is going to be the final break in Pharaoh's strength of will? Will he break his will, or will he just keep hold of the people no matter what? So we'll be finding out that in the next chapters. So stay tuned for that. How strong is your will? Have you ever thought about that? Are you sort of fighting something in your life that you need to break? What is it in you that needs to happen before you're going to finally and do the right thing for yourself or for others, you know? Look at your life seriously. Why are you holding on? What is it in you that's driving such a force, you know? There's so many things in our lives where we grip onto something. And is it really causing us, you know, happiness? Is it causing peace, or is it just causing suffering and pain? And if suffering and pain is the answer, then that's, you know, you've got to change it. You know you've got to change it, and you've got to look deep inside of you. That's the only place you're going to change, by looking within. Not looking outside for answers, looking within. And how will you change it? What has got you to that place that you want to cling on, or you want to hold on to something that is causing you so much pain? And then get to your answer and release it, you know. Find the peace. There's peace inside, always. Okay, I'll leave you with those 3 chapters. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again tomorrow for more chapters within the book of Exodus. Thanks for being here, everyone. Bye.